this of the plasma. Now I'm going to be very, very tight. I'm a very bad drawer. What happens when I do this to it? Or what happened when I do this to it? What I've done, I have taken the weakest energy levels of the plasma away. So what is left is the strongest in the middle. Very tiny, but the most powerful part of the soul. Now you understand why your soul is so powerful. Because the structure of the physicality of the man, by putting the brain and body on it, has taken all the weak away. They absorb all the small and weaker fields. So that's why your soul is so concentrated. It's the structure of your physicality which has forced the position of the soul. You are using everything which is in the plasma sphere. If you look at it, if I can redraw it again. Now you see how things change. Now you understand why your soul is in the center. It's the same plasma. With the structure of the brain we put on it, with the structure of the physicality we put on it, we corner it, we take all the weak parts out. We take everything of what it was there out of it. Because if you remember, if you go back to the reality, what we talked originally about, is very simple. What you had was this. I have to change the color because then you can see better. What you had was this. Do you remember this? This was the hydrogen. This was copper. This was gold. This was plutonium. And now, through the way you have chosen, by placing your brain in it, you have taken everything else outside out. And then what you got left with is this little chap inside. This part of it, of a higher strength, you called emotion. And this part of it, you're giving it a shape, you call it the physicality and the rest of it. But in essence, now that you have stripped the whole thing out the way you wanted it, there's left nothing, no space but soul in the middle. That's why it's so small in the middle. This sits right in the center. And that's where it is. What do you want me to do with it? If you don't understand it, who else can? How much more easier I can put it. And then what happens is the term of the physicality we don't understand. Now you understand why the soul of the man is in the center. Why it happened there? We're taking all the surplus out. We're taking the lower level energy out. So only the strongest is left in the middle. Now you understand, even when I chose the picture of plasma 3-4 years ago, now you see the reason. It's the same with the galaxy. It's the same with the solar system. The center sits the sun. The center sits the soul of the man. The center sits the soul of the galaxy, and the center of it is the center of the universe. And because you have materials which are gravitational, magnetically connected together, it has to be a spherical shape. When you look at the brain of the man in the MRI, you see the behavior of how much energy is absorbed from the soul to that point and what it's supposed to do. And then you understand one point. If you can free the higher energy at the boundary of this black hole, you can cross, because it's so strong, it crosses the whole brain and it becomes a new sphere of itself. It becomes a shell of itself. And if you can expand it more, it becomes a craft. So many people can come in which are of the same strength. They become like your brain. They become like exactly what you thought is impossible. And then if you do that and you carry the strength of the peaceful mind, peaceful soul, what's it going to do to you? Not much. This was the soul we left in the center. Now that you have gone and strengthened it, or you released the strength of the higher order from it, because the brain, your brain has taken all the surplus out, whatever it was, and your body is using it for whatever it needs, then you see what happens. If you release this field, the outer boundary field, if you release the outer boundary field, which is much stronger than these points, now you can go beyond. And if you can increase it, even the release of it more, then you can make a tent where here you have the brain, here you can have passengers which fit into your strength. Now you can see how you make a life out of it. Now we understand. Now we go a step further in the knowledge. So if this sphere you have created, that the other's strength can be part of it, you can change because of their same strength as you are covering their inside. You become a man of peace, and you make the others to walk the path of peace, because now it's your field, your emotion, your understanding of the peace, which pushes in a way the boundary of your own soul and you can reach the others. Now you see how simple it is. Now you understand the simplicity of it. It is important for us to understand how everything now is connected to each other. Now we understand how all the things are connected to each other. This is how we understand when you have a peaceful soul, when you understand the power of your soul, then you understand the peace comes with it. This is the problem. This is what we need to understand. This is how you create steps of peace. Because now the only problem for you left is what are we going to do with the new knowledge? The other point for you is simpler. Much more simpler. One other addition which is important for you is, okay, I understand this, but where am I going to get the energy from? Where am I going to get what I'm supposed to get, to give? Where is my energy? How do I expand this? Where do I come? Now man has to learn this. To create a flow in the plasma of the soul of the man. How do we attract the fields which are there for us to have without taking from another? In the physical life, we eat another animal, be it vertical, be it horizontal, be it in the fish, in the water. How can we change this? That by feeding our soul feeds our physicality. We don't need to touch anything else. We don't need to kill. Because once we start feeding ourselves and understanding that we don't need to kill, there will be no soldiers, there will be peace. But this is not a way to do it. We have to learn a method initially. Don't come back to me and say, oh, you said this way we get the energy, we got it, now what's next, where we're going to go? You have to learn how much energy you take, why you take it, and the reason you take it, and what purpose it's going to serve. It's exactly what I said yesterday. All of you made all these ganses, everything, million different type of it. So what? We made it. What are we going to do with it? Two choices. Throw it away or watch and wait. You learn the technique. If it becomes necessary, you use it. I was explaining this some time ago. What I've thought is like you go in your cupboard in the kitchen. You have all the spices. Indian, Chinese, Thai, African. God knows, from every corner of the world. Do you use them every time, put everything in a pot? Or when you want to make Indian food, you take the Indian spices. When you want to make African food, you take the African spices. You don't mix the spice of Africa with Italian pizza and the rest of it doesn't work, and then it becomes horrible. It's the same. I have taught you how to make all the recipes. And many of you have come and taught us how different spices of knowledge you brought in. It's you who have to understand when is needed and what is needed for, and how you can use the understanding of it, but not necessarily the material of it. So, you made all these ganses, you made all these nanomaterial, you made all the cores. What do you want to do with it? Understand it, you can do it. You don't use the ganses every day. You're not sick. But you want to make yourself sick, do something else and then come and use them. As I said to a guy, go and chop your finger and then use the nanomaterial devices, see if it grows. That's your decision. Many scientists have done that. They invented something and they use themselves as a guinea pig to show they can do it. I teach you and I've taught you the spectrum of knowledge. Now, I brought you to show that what I've taught you in past years can be done through your own body, your own center of forces you call the soul of the man. If you accepted the knowledge that as the sun came, it went out and it came back on itself, and in the center it sits like this, and then on the process of coming back up and down, it happened to make Earth, Mars and everything else. Look, is there any difference between your soul and the center? No. How come you can accept this, but when it comes to this, because you've been ignorant of it, now you have to object to it? So if the sun can absorb fields from different galaxies and different environments to expand, to increase its expansion or whatever, so can man. The sun has a soul, the same as the man, but it has fixed itself to the bigger structure. Now our solar system is an atom in the structure of a giant, where our cell is in structure of a man. It's no difference. When you look at the structure of the galaxies and universes, all these stars in there are there to create a creature, an entity. We have to chosen to call it a galaxy. Nobody else in the universe calls it. But when you look at its operation, it's alive, it moves, it has a meaning. How come when it comes to you, it doesn't exist? When it's out there, it exists. Have you become all rabbis?